Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Constantly Calibrating podcast, hosted sometimes in this case by myself, Josh Silver, and Brad. Decided we're doing a big interview that he would go on vacation with his family and bring no equipment because, you know, he's a charming gentleman like that.
Makes sense.
All things. Well, with that being said, we also don't have Ryan tonight, who had to be rushed to the emergency room about an hour and a half ago because turns out he is allergic to peanuts. He's one of those people.
Oh no! My God. Oh man, don't say that. I got one of those people in the house.
That's why my kid can't bring peanut butter. I actually always made fun of that whole ruling. You know, you can't bring peanut butter and peanuts to my kid's school. Now I get it. But that being said, I am joined, however, by the lovely, wonderful Justin, our creative director here at Constant Calibrating. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little disheveled, but I'm good.
Good. But finally, we are joined by our special guests from Yacht Club. I have to screw up that part. Of course, that's the part. We are joined by Yacht Club Games, Sean Velasco and Waz. How are you guys doing?
Good. We're doing good. So I'm Waz. That's Sean Velasco.
Yes, so
I'm Sean.
I waved when you said Sean Velasco.
And then I waved when Waz came.
Yeah,
but that was wrong.
We might switch halfway.
That was the opposite of, yeah.
Usually when we do interviews for conventions and things like that, when we interview Rooster Teeth, for some reason in our early stuff, I would wave while saying Bernie Burns' name or something like that. Never knew why it happened, so I get it. It makes sense. We were talking about the awkwardness of the game industry is what binds and connects us, so we're just carrying that forward. So how are you guys doing? You've just come off of doing an interview and your own live stream. Uh-huh. So, how is this day of video game development treating you? Video game undevelopment.
We started the day talking about business stuff.
Like business stuff.
Not business. Yeah. That was not making a game.
So that's like how our Mondays are, right? Like we have a big meeting in the morning where we go over all the Shovel Knight and non-Shovel Knight related things that are happening and all the businessy stuff and new things, and it's cool. We go through everything all as everyone is there talking about every aspect of the business. So that's kind of like a weird way.
Yeah, but it kind
of
starts things slow. I don't know. It's good to get it over with early in the week.
Well, yeah,
Mondays. Yeah.
Well, because nobody wants to sit through a big company meeting on a Friday. So, and in the middle of the week is kind of weird. It's good to start your week with the big meetings.
We had it Wednesdays, but yeah, Monday's much better.
Yeah, it works out. Then, you kind of just set the course. So, awesome. Well, we are here because, you guys, Yacht Club Game. I'm going to keep screwing up Yacht Club Games. We're going to have a counter right up here that's just going to track.
Yeah, nobody knows how to spell it, and it's hard to say, so it's cool.
That was a real dumb name. You could just say Sean and Waz, or Waz and Sean. I didn't mean to put myself first.
Waz and Sean would be better.
Waz and Sean. Yeah, I think that's definitely the better way.
That has a better ring to it.
Well, I mean, it's the beard versus the non-beard. The beard overpowers.
No, I just cut my hair. My hair was so long and crazy.
Usually it's like out.
And now it's all, I feel so light and nice.
Yes.
Aerodynamic.
I feel very aerodynamic. I'm like aerodynamic, I feel. I'm a little greasy also. Sorry. That's my natural pomade.
Yes. Well, so now that I'm excited that we're doing this over Skype. So anyways, let's talk. We're here to discuss Shovel Knight because you guys have been working on that for quite some time. Spectre of Torment just released. So let's start a little more in the beginning. I say simple, but the simple question of why Shovel Knight? Like, why is that the game the Yacht Club Games has been working on and your main thing? Why was that the first?
Well, it actually kind of wasn't. We started a game that was more complicated in terms of visually, and it was going to be an iOS game, and it was just like a very different thing that we were kind of testing out before we made Shovel Knight, and it wasn't working out because it was full resolution pixel art, and it was taking forever just to make assets, and we were already having to outsource a lot of the material, and
it was like on iOS. Like we were trying to figure, we're like, how can we make an iOS game fun?
Yeah,
and then we found out we couldn't.
Yeah,
like nobody could. So I mean, we wanted to make something that was like right in our wheelhouse, right? Like the kinds of games we grew up loving and playing, like those 8-bit platformers, or just 8-bit games in general, right? Like something that's based around like one really strong singular mechanic. So it's like Contra and like gateway directional shooting and the way the jumps work, or like Zelda and the down thrust, or Castlevania and the whip and the sub weapons, and like we just wanted to make something that was simple and fun, like where you understood everything that your character could do, but all of the interest came from like everything that was all around you, right? Like your environment.
Yeah, and it's something that like a gameplay type that interested us, and it was also like in our scope. We were 5 people at the time, so
it's like wanted to do like all the art.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah, and like we needed to be able to like make art and design the enemy and like create the thing, in one day, and then change it if we needed to. And with the style of game that we have and the pipeline we have developed, it's possible to do all that in one day.
Yeah, it helps us focus on like what is important to us, right? Which is like having great gameplay, being able to iterate really quickly through a lot of things. Like if we were making a big old modern game with skeletal animation and complex models, then just making an enemy for your game could take months, right? But it's like we can throw something in really quickly, iterate on it, and make sure that the fun factor is like the most important thing.
And throw it away if we have to.
Right. Yeah. So. All those ideas kind of came together, something that we thought would be successful on Kickstarter, something that we were capable of making, and something that also like pulled at our heartstrings, So it's like Shovel Knight was the project where all of those kind of aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Shovel Knight's kind of one of those things that I was aware of it. I had a lot of friends and stuff like that mentioning for a while, you have a 3DS, go get Shovel Knight, go do this. And it's like, I like platformers, but I'm past the point of platformers, and I need a story, and like all those BS excuses.
You have smart friends. You should listen to your friends.
There's a story.
Well, but it was one of those things, and we kept going. And like I kept coming up with excuses, and then you guys finally were coming to Xbox One with the Battletoads stuff, and PS4 with the God of War stuff, and we were further along with console calibrating a couple, what would that be, like 3 years into it. So it was like, okay, this could be a fun thing. I'm terrible at platformers, but why not? And, the moment you fire it up, that music hits. And it's just, I dare anyone who loves old, retro, old that style music not to fall in love without any other information, because it's crazy how that pulls in. And yeah, ended up loving the game, discovering, I actually really like platformers. This isn't the genre I'm over with. And holy crap, this game has a deep story for just being quote unquote basic. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, it's also why we led the trailer to launch the Kickstarter with that music. Yeah. That's all Jake Kaufman.
That's amazing. He's an amazing. It's like his stuff is just so good. It's like so good.
It's perfect, and it really hits the things that we tried to do with the gameplay, which is just like be fun and exciting and really evocative of that time period. So his soundtrack is actually like the most authentically NES thing of the game. You can, we've seen it, but you can like burn the actual data to an NES cart and with the right chips you can run it on a Famicom. And I've seen there's some guys in Florida that made it, and it was they put the card in, and then like he hit start, and the Shovel Knight music started playing, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and that makes me really happy to hear that it kind of like made you realize that platformers are still cool, or like that they never, or that they like never were really gone. That's one of the best compliments I think that we could get, right? Like if playing Shovel Knight gets you excited for more platformers, or like makes you want to go back and play other games or introduce people to it, like that's like, I don't know, like evangelizing platforming gameplay is like definitely a big part of Shovel Knight.
Well, it's not, it's going to come across as sucking up. I swear it's not. Like, as someone who just reviews, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but like, for me, it was, I liked Super Mario. I never liked the quote, the tough as nails kind of platformers. I never was a Mega Man fan. I never really liked those kind of things. I played a little bit of those ones, but it was just like the more simple Super Mario 3, that kind of thing was what appealed to me. So Shovel Knight, when people are saying, oh yeah, it's simple, and then it has this deep difficulty, and then, the maneuverability, that was what kind of pushed me off. And then playing it is not just show me that I really love and missed platformers, but it showed me like, oh, I can actually play these more difficult kind of style of it. And I do have the skills, for it, at least if it's Shovel Knight or a Shovel of Hope or Spectre of Torment. I'm having some difficulty with Plague of Shadows right now.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
It's my skills don't measure up for that.
No, like it definitely brought you back. So, I mean, there's been a lot of platformers since coming through, but this one like just nails the aesthetic on every level, the gameplay, the look, the music, as we mentioned, and it just hooks you. Like, actually wasn't able to play Spectre of Shadows yet. due to an habit my roommate mentioned he already had it on the Switch. Passed it over, like I almost finished it, like was playing for a couple hours, just just hooked. I got home from work, started doing that. Like, oh, the interview's about to start. Like, oh, well, at least I'm studying.
So no, I get that. I ended up completely and utterly to finish up the game. I got hooked in with the last two for Spectre, with the last two boss levels, I guess, and actually I guess less 4 because it's the ending part. But I ended up playing that and realized, oh, I'm at my in-laws neglecting them on Easter egg painting day and my child. And I'm just finishing up this game. And thankfully my wonderful family did not give a shit that I was doing that. So
I'm glad that we can provide a thing to be derelict of your other duties.
Right. Yeah, so it was a nice combination. But anyway, so Shovel Knight, you've been working on it for a few years now. The original game came out a couple of years ago. Can you talk about the what your expectations were when you were launching this Kickstarter versus now? I mean, or even your expectations originally versus when it was actually coming out versus now. Sure. 2 expansions, two DLCs in.
Sure. Well, initially we just wanted to do the Shovel Knight Kickstarter. We put it up for $75,000 because we figured that would be about half of the development budget, and we'd need about $150,000 to develop it. We were hoping we would get that much. If not, we were prepared to go to a publisher or do something else like that. But I mean, we didn't really have a plan B. At that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, our expectation was that we would try to do what we could to finish the game with the Kickstarter,
like for it to come out.
Yeah, for it to come out, and then like our hope was that we would sell enough copies to keep the game company afloat, right? So that we could do the next thing, whether that was Shovel Knight 2 or whatever.
Our minimum that we said we'd need to sell would be 50,000. Yeah. In order to just break even and to make a new thing. And then for it to be like a really big success, then we said if we sold 150,000, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And now we've sold 1.6 million. So that's 10 times what our hope was.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. That's completely awesome. Crazy. Yeah. And now the expectations are just like all over the place. I don't know.
Shifting. It's weird it's like we put it out on the Switch and we were hoping to, just like keep sales where they were, and we got a huge boost from that after increasing the price. So I don't know. I feel like we're really happy with where Shovel Knight is and where it's going. And
Spectre of Torment was like really is good. Cool, and like it was a big thing to separate it all out into all these different, like for Spectre of Torment and Treasure Trove and all that. But that seems like, I think that went really well. Yeah. It seems like visibility of the game is really good still. So like Spectre of Torment did its job of like bringing more attention to Shovel Knight, and people really seem to be loving the game. And it's all good. I mean, I don't know. We're always like so scared of everything, like all the time, right? It's like because you're always only as good as like the last thing that you made, and it's like when you're making games, you're always like on the precipice, right? Like there's always a wall where you're gonna like run out of money, and you're playing a long game because developing anything takes like a year, so that means you need to have resources in reserve for that long.
You have to have the resources and the foresight to actually see where your market is going. Foresight,
it's like educated guessing though. Well, it's really hard to have that.
All we can do is like use our own like what we would want or what we think would be cool or what we think might be interesting. But yeah, it's like impossible to know, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of want to bring it back to one of our first questions. I was always curious about this. Why Shovel Knight? Why a knight with a shovel? Where did the inspiration for the character come from?
Well, yeah, I mean, like we were saying, it was all about the mechanic, and the mechanic kind of spoke to a device that wasn't the sword. It was like you're bouncing and digging and flipping things over, and it was like it created like us discussing what the mechanics would be, kind of created the idea of a shovel, and then from there it kind of just like ballooned out. So it wasn't like we approached it from a thematic point to begin with. It was always like a weird like mechanics discussion that led the world. But like when we were making the world, we didn't want the whole world. we were making to be all shovels or all gardening equipment. We knew that we also wanted to make a game that was like a world that could be taken seriously and stand on its own, but also had a lot of levity to it. So
yeah, I think taking a world seriously and the world being serious are two very different things, right?
Right.
But it's like we wanted the world building in Shovel Knight to feel like at least fleshed out enough that you could put a little bit of yourself into it and be excited about it. Yeah,
makes sense. So. Okay, where was I? My notes just closed. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to talk to you guys about your approach to DLC and your approach to essentially expansion kind of thing, because at least initially, you had this successful game Shovel Knight, and then you announced Plague of Shadows, and for the initial burst, everyone just gets it. And it was just one of those things like, okay, so what is this going to be? And then people got their hands on it, and it's this whole side quest, ongoing at the same time, but it's essentially a whole second Shovel Knight game that you just gave to people.
I mean, we're talking about like expectations. Our expectations for what that would be were not what the Plague of Shadows game became. We're a little bit shy of what it actually is. Like when we were talking about the expansions originally in the Kickstarter, it was just like, let's make a campaign for the 3 bosses and it'll be fine. Like we can do those in a couple months.
It'll be like simple.
It'll be simple and interesting and basically the same kind of game. But they really, as we were developing them, it really just like became crazy.
it got like bigger and bigger,
and more story and more characters and more in scenarios.
Yeah. And it became less about making something cool and more about, well, how the hell are we going to like salvage this and try to sell it in a way that like doesn't put us out of business. Right. And so, but I think so far that's like gone really well. Like we've used the Minecraft model, I would say, of like adding things to the game and continuing for it to be cool and even raising the price and not going on sale that much, but just trying to give people that bought the game the best experience that we can for as long as possible.
Adding value, not by reducing price, but by adding content.
Right, adding the value. And by doing that, it's like, same thing. Spectre Knight comes out and it gets more attention for Shovel Knight, and it just lets... it should just be like a big water wheel. Shovel Knight, we've been developing it for 4 years now, and it's usually you would put a game out and ignore it, and then in 6 months you're selling it for $1 or whatever, like in a fire sale. But we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to do like the Steam sale thing because we wanted to keep the quality and the price of our game at a level that was sustainable. We thought the best way to do that was to keep adding cool content to it and to just be like really, really good to everyone that bought the game, so that they would trust us, so that we could keep making more stuff. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Yeah.
I said no, and that makes sense. One thing we discussed, I want to say, it was on an older podcast around the time we first really discovered Shovel Knight around here, when the expansions started coming out, is it's kind of like you guys were doing a form of episodic content before that was kind of such a major thing. I mean, Walking Dead had already done it, a little. Telltale had already done with Walking Dead a little bit, but like before Square Enix not Square Enix, what was that? Before
kind of.
Well, no, I was gonna say before I'm getting my developers mixed up right now. I'm having one of those nights. Let me tell you, Brad's supposed to normally host this. My brain is just off on the rails right now. But no, before Hitman kind of went episodic last year, that you guys were doing that, and like when we were talking about it last year, when people were talking about Hitman and being like, well, what's this? You buy the base game and like these different levels and you get stuff like that makes no sense for things. It's like, I think I said on the podcast, or either I said it or Brad said it, was like, well, isn't it kind of like vaguely what Yacht Club is doing? Because like they got this Plague of Shadows thing, and then they have that next one they're talking about coming out. Is like, isn't that kind of that same thing? Why is that different? And it's a very similar kind of mindset.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, it was sort of the same thing with the Half-Life episodes, right? That there would be like a big one that came out, and then like there would be like another. That's what we should do, is just never come out with King Knight, right? And then we could just keep the intrigue.
Yeah, totally.
What you do is you put out one more promotional thing for King Knight. You put the first promotional thing with the official name and everything,
just like his face or like the symbol.
Mm-hmm. But you need to have a 3 somewhere, just like a shadow of a 3 in gold or something like that, just for the the knowing fans, when it's not released 3 years down the road, can be like, I got it. I get the joke now.
Or I don't know, like, Telltale, like the strong bad stuff, and like the Monkey Island came out a lot before Shovel Knight. They kind of did a similar thing.
There's a lot, like what was that game? Life is Strange did that.
Yeah, or I mean, how about Unreal Tournament? I mean, Unreal Tournament. It's like they would put out new maps and new weapons, and they would keep updating it. And it was the same thing with Diablo 2 also, right? Like Diablo 2's been out for like 20 years, and like they still, like a year ago, they like put out another patch. Like that's the kind of customer service that like keeps you coming back, right? You feel good about buying anything that Blizzard makes because you know that they're going to support it and they're going to take care of you for like the full lifetime of the product. And that's like we wanted to do the same thing.
Well, so you're doing the same thing, and then on a smaller scale with the more indie developments kind of thing. And it's really cool that you guys are able to do this, able to support your product. And then of course now with the treasure trove and stuff like that, you're able to offer this package deal, but you're also able to buy each thing individually. Somebody sees a Let's Player and they're like, Shovel Knight looked cool, but I'm not super into that. But that's, the Spectre of Torment, that looks really awesome. I really like how the mechanics look of that. That's the only one I want. They can just jump in with that. And I think that's
and a
really
lot of people have like bought it on PlayStation and they want to play it on their 3DS or whatever, or their Switch or whatever else they have.
Like buy the whole thing.
So the idea is that you don't have eventually when it's all on all platforms, that you'll be able to just piecemeal buy with the things that you want on whatever platform you want, or to like you're saying, like kind of dip your toe in the world and see if it's something that you want to get into.
Yeah. And it also adds a cheaper SKU of Shovel Knight.
Yeah,
like Shovel Knight was $15, and like just the Shovel of Hope standalone is $10, so it's actually like a cheaper point of entry for Shovel Knight players also. I don't know, we thought a lot about like how we were going to do this and how the treasure trove thing was all going to work. So it's definitely been an experiment, but it's going okay. It's working out, so I think it's cool.
So while Shovel Knight, who I have my lovely amiibo here, is very very popular, obviously, it's hard to argue that the Order of No Quarter is not so much more for each individual. Like everyone has their knight there, essentially, that they're the one they're a fan of. How did you guys go about developing like these characters that Shovel Knight would go up against?
Well, who's your favorite? I want to know you guys' favorites.
I leaned towards Spectre, and then after having played Spectre of Torment, I now love that character. Like that, I was playing a platformer and tearing up on my couch of my in-laws' house. So I mean, like, that it's a wonderful story. So that definitely put him over. But I think probably it would be Propeller Knight. Something about that, suave kind of gentleman, or well, not always gentleman if you're playing the treasure trove stuff, because you can switch genders, which I love that feature. But that suave individual is just like really great. And I enjoy. What about you, Justin?
Well, you're Tinker Knight, man. Little guy, got cute music going on, and then what do you think you got him beat?
Great.
And then he just throws a huge mech at you. It's like,
yeah.
That's cool.
The Tinker Knight boss battle is great in Shovel Knight, and I love that boss battle in Spectre. I feel like it just took it up a notch, because like the subtle changes obviously you guys put in, so you weren't doing the exact same thing twice. And obviously to play more to the strengths of each character, like it felt really awesome. And then we have Vario123 in our chat just yelling full caps Plaguey as their favorite.
Yeah, sure.
Plague Knight is great. He's great in the way that I want to knock his face in. Like he annoys me in that, but in that well-written annoyance kind of way. I want to knock that.
Super annoying, but like in a well-written kind of.
Yeah, no, but like in that way, I want to knock his mask off. But thank you for it. It's the same way, like, the characters you hate in television shows. It's like, I want that fucker dead. But
yeah, and then when you're playing him and you're dying a lot, it's like it reinforces that. Yeah,
he's such a sympathetic character.
I understand why he's like this, because he keeps falling off cliffs every. Sorry.
Yeah, all of the characters were all made based on their theming first. So we said, oh, we want to have a Grim Reaper that's in a graveyard. We want to have a mechanical guy that's in a clock tower. We want to have an underground lava guy. But all of those are very like tropey, and we wanted to try and switch it up a little bit, at least so it felt different.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why with Mole Knight we had like the lava and goo thing where you like change it from one to the other. And like with Tinker Knight, you had this weird battle where it started out like where he's tiny, like he's like the smallest knight because like he has like the biggest thing that happens afterwards. We designed them all like in a lineup, I would say also. So it's like we made sure that their silhouettes were all cool and different. There's like big, huge guys and little tiny guys, that their color palettes across the thing like all went nicely. Like they were designed as a set from the levels. I don't know what else.
Yeah, I mean the whiteboard drawings are kind of cool. That's how it started. Like for the there's a night where Sean got together with one of the artists and just kind of drew a bunch of just like really fast sketches based on ideas. And so it was like this should be a death guy, and so he has like a skull and like a I forget what's the character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Jason
Casey Jones.
Casey Jones. He's like a Casey Jones mask and a scythe, and then it's like, okay, done. Like let's move on to the next guy. Like it's he's got propeller on his head and he flies around. And he's propeller,
like, he's like a cocksure flying ace pilot wearing jodhpurs.
Yeah,
boom,
yeah,
like there. It's like,
and so like those original like set of what the characters could be spoke a lot to what the characters eventually ended up as, even if they don't look totally the same. A lot of like silhouette changes happened, a lot of like specifics for the designs changes, but the idea and the attitude of the order as a whole was sort of decided that night. And you get a really good feel for like what the character could be, and you think about them personality wise and theming wise as you're developing their visuals.
Yeah, but I think what you said, where it's like you get a good idea of what the character could be, is a big part of it, right? Like Propeller Knight has 8 lines of dialogue and across the whole series, right? Like he like doesn't say a whole lot, and like neither does Polar Knight, right? But like we get emails all the time where it's just like, what's the deal with Polar Knight and Black Knight? Like, do they know each other? Like he had his helmet off at the end there. He was like looking off into the distance, like, what's his deal? Are we going to find out more? And so I think we like to leave those things open-ended a little bit and to come up with like, well, here's how it could be, but we don't exactly know. And then we put ourselves into that corner, and then we got to like figure our way back out of it when it's actually time to do whatever the thing is, right? So like Spectre Knight and the Locket is the example that we use.
Yeah, I mean, if once you get to the end of Plague Knight, which you should totally endeavor to do,
I'll be there tonight.
Yeah, there's a little scene where Spectre Knight interacts with the chest where you find the locket as Plague. And it's totally just like a hint to what could be. And at that point in the development, we hadn't thought of everything. It was just like, hey, we want to like maybe make the locket important. And so we did that as a way to like set ourselves up.
Right. It says the missing locket, and the chest rises up, and he like opens it and it's not there, and he's like slashes it in half angrily, and he's like, "Arr!" And that was like, but like we had no idea for the story at all, other than it involved the locket. And that's it.
In the same way, like people ask us, like, what's with Black Knight and Polar Knight? And we're like, oh, I don't know.
We'll figure it out. One day we'll figure it out.
What do you think?
What do you think it is? And just, can you sign this paperwork after with your email?
Yeah, I think it's like, I think like with many things Shovel Knight related, it began not good and then became good with a lot of work.
Sure.
So like the idea of Shovel Knight being like and his ability set is like not that good of an idea, or it's not like it's a genius high concept or anything, but like we just really worked hard at trying to make everything make sense and for it to all follow logically, and trying to focus on each interaction for being fun and like work on the story in a way that's not annoying to people when they're playing it. And by the end of it came out pretty good, I think. But but it wasn't always that way. So I think the story is kind of like that too. It's like the parts of the story that everyone knows now, we really worked hard on, but the parts that you don't know are like Who knows, right? Yeah. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out one day, maybe.
Well, I mean, your way of storytelling is obviously we get the most of the full story of each individual knight in their individual entry, but you're also giving little piecemeal things. I mean, with Spectre of Torment being a prequel, we know a little bit more about how the Order was formed and some of the backstory about the characters. Plague Knight being his being a concurrent thing. You're getting little side details of things, so. It's a cool way of doing stories because you have the big piecemeal, this is about this character, but the next game might actually give you a little bit more of a detail about them, like a little piece of dialogue that'll make you raise a question.
So. Yep, and the storyline being there. I mean, you're describing a thing that's already been completed, but like we don't know the whole story of the Shovel World that we're like explaining, so it's not like a thing that we can just like dip into and pull a thing out. That's the game. We kind of have to make it up as we go. So
yeah, but it's fun to like weave everything in and out, right? Like you could probably tell from playing the games that we love to like to like weave the lore in and out of that, and it's like well while Shovel Knight is doing this, like this other thing is happening, or like Horus mentions like I was the oldest thing here or whatever, like I've been in the tower for a long so it's time. Like what's the Horus
what does that mean?
Right. Like Red, the relic hunter and Spectre of Torment is like I used to be a relic hunter, but I can lead you to him, and it's like well shit, like we should make a Red game where you're just like hunting the relics, or like what are his friends like, or like how did he become a skeleton? Why is he red? Right, it could all be like. I mean, like I'm sure we could explain it, and it would probably be pretty neat.
Yeah, totally.
I like NPC Fury's comment in our chat here. It sounds like they're writing their own fan fiction.
That's what it is. Well, even in our in our Slack, you can make custom icons, and we made custom icons for like every character in the whole Shovel Knight universe, and everyone will write the icon and then write what like as the character, right?
That voice,
so it's like everyone's role playing the characters in the chat. Saying stupid stuff, and then half of that ends up in the game anyway. Yeah, it's like really. Yeah, it's a really good. I think it's a good way to like
fan fiction.
Yeah, it is fan fiction. It's totally fan fiction.
I mean, fan fiction when it boils down to it is, it just starts out. That's how everything starts out. It's not until it becomes a published work that it's not fan fiction, but everything's fan fiction.
Yeah,
especially if you're a fan of it.
And then the Battletoads show up, because why not?
Well, that's Battletoads and Kratos showing up is the height of fan fiction.
It's like a 10-year-old's fan fiction where they're like drawing the pictures on top of stuff.
I wanted to make a different comment about progressing story and stuff like that, but actually let's double back. You guys essentially got to make a Battletoads level in your own game.
Yes.
What was that, experience like? Because I mean, as someone who grew up playing the Battletoads arcade game, it literally felt like I was just playing Battletoads, kind of.
Yeah, the edit was infuriating parts.
Oh, yeah, no, all the most infuriating parts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we, I don't remember how originally. I think we just asked Microsoft. Oh my God, we'd love to have a Microsoft property in there. Let us put Battletoads in there. Let us put a Rare property in there. Let us put Master Chief in there, like Marcus Phoenix or whatever. But we think Battletoads would be like the most appropriate.
Yeah, and they agreed. Like they were excited to see Battletoads go in there, and I think that was also before. That was before the Rare Replay was happening, so they were kind of keen to tie those two together. And
we
didn't know about Rare Replay, but it's a good serendipitous connection.
Yeah, as much as the game as much as how the content itself went, they really just let us. Let us do whatever. So we're like, we really wanted it to be like accurate to the Battletoads and for it to
Which means like what? Because one of the things that was so hard to do was to design the Battletoads, because if you look at before Shovel Knight art and before the they had those big statues or whatever, if you look up what Battletoads look like, it just is different. Varies so much.
Like everything's different,
from like the ability of the artist to like the size and shape of like what the characters are and like how many toads there are. It's all like very, very out there, because there's Battletoads and there's also Battletoads and Double Dragon team up, and then I feel like there's another one, but it's like there's so many sources for what Battletoads are, and like all of them are technically official, that it was really hard to figure out what they looked like.
Yeah.
But like we just kind of did what we wanted, and they totally let us. They were like, yeah, that's great. And so
by the end of it, like it was all finished, and we like gave it to them for submission. We're like, here's this, here's all these videos, here's all that, and they just sent us an email. They're like, oh yeah, it looks great.
Yeah,
it's like whatever, put it in.
Yeah. No, they said we really like how you like captured the spirit of the Battletoads. Yeah, totally. But there was no there were not a lot of like revisions back and forth. I think we were really pumped to make Battletoads, because that's something that I mean, from the from the falling down rappelling part to the speeder bike section, it's like, I mean, I played those sections myself like dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
Yeah, they could sense our enthusiasm for it, and I think they trusted us. And so it's credit to them more than anything that we were able to like do that with so little oversight. And I think the same thing happened with Sony and doing the Kratos stuff.
Definitely.
We put together our ideas, and we had just the most random things that we thought they were going to hate, and they were totally into it because like they sensed our enthusiasm. You know, we said we should call him the Ghost of Shovels or whatever.
Yeah, Ghost of Shovels. He'll call him Ghost of Sparta, and then he'll call him Ghost of Shovels. They're like, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I think the Sony is like very. I would say they're like with Kratos especially. Like we went to Sony Santa Monica and talked to those guys, and they're very like they're really passionate about Kratos also, right? Because it's like they were working on the new God of War. And so they wanted to make sure that like he was represented properly, and like we tried to make it as like epic and badass as we could, right? To like make it like more like God of War-y. So I don't know. It was a ton of fun to do both of those. Like, what a cool opportunity just to like be able to take another property and like put it into your game and try to make it fit. You know? Yeah.
Fair enough. Justin, you want to grab the next one I highlighted?
Oh yeah, sure. So. Kind of want to know what's next with Shovel Knight. What can you tell us about King Knight?
Oh, King Knight's all secret right now.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We showed off a mobility thing where he's like dashing through the air and
and bouncing on things.
So that was like pretty heavily inspired by I think like Wario and those kind of games. But like I don't know, like one of the things that we're talking about is trying to find a balance of. So it's a Shovel Knight game, so it's it has to be it fits into that like genre game kind of but like also we don't want people to have to like go through the same game 4 times.
This is the 4th. I mean, this would be the 4th time.
Yeah, and so I don't know. There's a sense of it's like wearing thin, and so we want to just avoid that as much as possible.
Right. Like with Spectre of Torment, I think we did a really good job of making the whole thing feel like really fresh.
Yes.
And so now, what can we do with King Knight to make sure it still feels fresh? So that's what we're doing.
So that's our plan, is to figure it out.
Yeah.
So about that, like, do you like kind of like remember an old game mechanic you like, and you kind of like build the game around that? Because like we could pull a bunch of references to Shovel Knight, but like even like a Spectre Knight, like I guess somebody could say like, oh man, this feels a little bit like Ninja Gaiden, and Shovel Knight would be like a little bit like DuckTales, with of course a ton of other stuff in there too. But
yeah, I mean, I would say Spectre Knight was a weird one because we wanted it to be that it was like cool, like for you to run around and jump and be like a badass. Like Plague Knight, a lot of people had trouble with, and so we wanted Spectre Knight for it to be something that it was a little bit easier to look cool while you were playing, and like that's what drove the development of Spectre Knight. And so what I wanted to do was pull in a lot of inspirations from modern games. So like Spectre Knight, just like in Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, can run up against the wall, take like 2 or 3 steps, and then falls back down, right? It's also very similar to like Assassin's Creed, where if you like hold the button and you run, but if you're not holding the button, then you just push up against it, right? And then the dash slash mechanic is like very similar to like a lot of things. It's kind of sort of like the Sonic homing dash.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the Flying Swallow from Ninja Gaiden, the Xbox game. Where it's like that's a homing attack that if you're below the enemy, you go up, and if you're above the enemy, then you go down. But it's context sensitive, right? And like those context sensitive motions don't exist anywhere in Shovel Knight or in Plague Knight. Like something where the world around you actually affects how your character is played. So, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point.
No, that's. I mean, it was like that was the how things started. But I think as we develop it in the same way that we develop Shovel Knight around a singular mechanic, we try to keep it limited. Like Spectre Knight can do those things, but like that's it, and that's all he can do. And the focus then becomes like his pace and like the things how many like things you're demanding of you in any given moment,
and how to get to get all of the fun of Shovel Knight, like the stuff that already exists, how Spectre Knight could like work with that, right?
Yeah.
Like how he could, how you can interact with all those things, how the dash slashing works, how the wall climbing works. Like we had a lot of problems that you could just dash slash it at an enemy over and over and over again and just kill them because that's the mechanic. So we had to figure out ways around
so we can't just like cancel it because then it feels like you're being too slow. And so it becomes a balance task of like finding the timing of what feels good to bounce away, what feels safe as a player, what's not too scary and crazy, and also like what's the fun thing and what makes you feel like you're being cool. So it's a very nebulous target to hit, and oftentimes we will decide on something and implement it and it feels cool, but then like we go back and it's like, no, this really isn't working because this and this and this, we get used to it, we understand the mechanic more. And so the mechanics for Spectre Knight went through a lot of, I would say like his core mobility mechanics went through a lot of revisions.
It's just a process, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
it's a long, like just like the story.
Yes. Yep, we gotta like get used to it, and like kind of like how we're doing fan fiction to write our stories. We're like approaching these mechanics in a way that's just like us trying to like enjoy the game as much as possible. Also like target it towards people who haven't played the game yet. So it's all a giant balancing act, and it's I don't know. It was fun to do, but it was definitely like a lot of processes.
That's why it takes so long.
Well, NPC Fury is saying regarding King Knight, he's very twirly, so make sure that's
yeah. Yep,
he's already really twirly.
Well, obviously, do you have any idea at this juncture when you'll be putting out more information on King Knight?
Well, no, we haven't really announced anything. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything for a while. We're really trying to figure it out.
Definitely this year. This year, you'll hear more about King Knight.
That's more than enough. It's just pure curiosity. I mean, literally, Spectre Torn just released, with the Switch a month ago.
We're still trying to get it out on everything.
Yeah, like, it's on Steam and Switch.
We're like submitting it on Xbox. We're submitting it on PlayStation, on Amazon Fire TV. So it's all happening. We are.
I like that. That's what we call that.
That's what we're doing.
It's like Xbox and
and we're working
Amazon Fire.
To answer. As far as the release date for that stuff goes, a lot of it is in submissions right now, so it should be imminent, but we can't give any solid release dates.
We try to wait for a final word from first party before giving any promises.
Yeah, you don't.
That way we don't make any promises.
Yeah, well, you don't want to give a date based on your previous experiences, and then it takes an extra week or two because it's just whatever happens.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. So well, on the topic of what's next for Shovel Knight and stuff like that, we had a couple of comments I was noticing as the chat was scrolling up that I thought I would read out, and we could gauge some opinions on it. So we had Xenon Zed made a comment: if King Knight is a sequel, just pure if, Treasure Knight should definitely run a shop or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we've talked about stuff like that a lot. Like, I mean, in what I keep saying is like in Mega Man 1 you don't care that there's no, or in Mega Man 2 you don't care that there's no Mega Man 1 bosses. You're not like, man, but where's Elec Man?
Yeah,
like what's he up to, right? That's because there's not really like a story in
like
Mega Man.
You kill him and then you see him again in the Wily Tower and like, this guy, I already killed this
guy.
You're
like, that's enough here. That's enough, right? You're thinking about who are the 8 new guys. Like, but for Shovel Knight it's like people actually like the characters, right? I like the characters, and so I want to see them come back. And what you just said of having Treasure Knight run the shop, I think that like we've talked about Mona and Plague Knight running like some sort of potion shop or something in a Shovel Knight sequel or in a side game or something like that. So I definitely think it'd be cool if it all like weaved, right?
Yeah, totally. I feel like these characters are all like, I don't know. Like we like to think about them outside of the role of hitting a guy, like of a guy who punches Shovel Knight. So them having jobs and like relationships and desires and ambitions is like really interesting to us. And again, we're gonna write our fan fiction until it's over.
At least having it weave a little bit, right? Like I imagine there'll never be I like you probably wouldn't see all of those, like all of the characters from Shovel Knight 1 and Shovel Knight 2, because you got to get rid of some stuff to like make room for new stuff. Right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't think about Shovel Knight 2 right now. We're still trying to get King Knight figured out.
Well, I mean,
and Battle.
Okay. Yeah, I was say, that's the way you break the formula is, so far all in both expansions, both DLCs, you've had only the character who you're playing as not be a boss. So that's the way you do it is, you come across and the bosses are completely different in this storyline and all the people are, I don't know, shopkeepers and innkeepers and, or whatever their particular thing is, or, stuck in a mirror. I don't know. So I just love that. You're
everyone,
you're discussing all the relationships. And now I suddenly want a Shovel Knight, like visual novel, like How to Full Bird, like kind of complete other side thing where it's just like a dating simulator. Like that's now stuck in my head.
We want Platinum to make like a super hardcore Spectre Knight action game.
Yeah, Spectre Knight Revengeance or whatever. Yeah,
that would be the best.
And it should also be sci-fi for no reason.
Yeah, that's my fan fiction.
Oh, that would be so good.
Yeah. No, like my thing I came up with, my fan fiction in my head was one of the knights, maybe, so fanciful and like, carefree, like maybe Propeller Knight, that he's literally, his story is he's writing a fan fiction and it's just Shovel Knight in space. That's the Propeller Knight thing. Just because he's just thinking about far off lands and things like that. Like that was my half asleep, I wrote a note in my phone like, write this fan fiction. You don't write fan fictions, but you should write this one.
Yeah.
I got a couple more things because we've been going for a while now. I want to let you guys go back to everything, and I'm also getting repeated texts like, why are we not eating dinner yet? So
why aren't we eating dinner?
Why aren't we eating dinner? But I guess I got a couple more here. Alpha Altair made a comment. I always wonder where the Shovel Knight plotline goes after the Enchantress is defeated. I always imagine Shield Knight and Shovel Knight traveling on a medieval yacht.
That's nice. That sounds so nice and peaceful.
Yeah. Well, that's where the dating simulator comes in. It's them. Them on a computer, because why they have a computer? It's medieval. It makes sense. And they're playing the dating simulator, and we're playing through them.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like a computer is like a person, like one who computes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like computer, add 10 and 20. He's like, yes, sir.
So, and then we got that.
I don't know.
No. I'm just throwing out things from the chat that like didn't fit earlier that I wanted to make sure we address some of the more interesting things. And then Will00020 said, I just want to say that I would love to see a shovel cart game happen sometime in the future. Yeah. I imagine that's got to be one of the bigger requests you guys get, variations of that, because you have the cast of characters.
Yeah. We actually have we have like just concept art of something like that, not because we wanted to do it, just because somebody wanted to make the art.
Don't tell them we're making it. I know.
Sorry.
But wouldn't it be cool if there was a Shovel Knight?
That's how we
wouldn't it be cool if wouldn't it be cool if there was like a bunch of new amiibos? Wouldn't it be cool if there was a new IP coming out? Wouldn't it be cool if we made Shovel Knight 64?
Shovel Knight 64.
Wouldn't it be cool if there was a Shovel Knight adventure karting game, like Diddy Kong Racing, like where there's a little bit more than just the multiplayer component. We were just in that ukulele stream, and that's what apparently Platonic was talking about, that making a adventure racer. That sounds like really, really cool to me. I'd love to work on something like that. I'd love to play something like that.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how to make a racing thing.
That's a totally different game.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's why we've got to hire somebody else to make it for us.
Yep.
Right. But Shovel Knight 64, we're all over that. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and then I guess the last thing is, you are, busy with Spectre of Torment's release. You have King Knight thing you're working on. You have whatever other things in the Shovel Knight, universe that you're going to continue working on. Are there any thoughts going around of expanding outside of Shovel Knight?
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. So
month.
Yep. Last month.
Last month.
One of the things that we keep kind of saying is that we have a mindset of doing what Nintendo did. Nintendo had Mario, then they had Zelda and Metroid, and they had like these really strong, unique IPs that everybody loved because you knew what Nintendo, like, if you love Nintendo, then you're going to love everything they make. And so we want to kind of do the same. We want to have our Shovel Knight and our Zelda and our Metroid, whatever they are, not necessarily saying it's going to be those genre games.
Not like a Zelda or not like a Metroid necessarily.
Just like a like, this is the tentpole game, Shovel Knight. This is the second tentpole game, whatever. This is the third tentpole game, pinball, whatever.
Something that you love even more than Shovel Knight, right?
Yeah.
Like something like we want to try and make a brand that's like cooler and more exciting than Shovel Knight. And I'd like to do that like a couple times. So we have like a stable of cool things that we can keep working on a bunch of weird stuff.
Partly because we like it's in our blood to like make games that are not just Shovel Knight. Like we've been making Shovel Knight for so long, and I feel like we're like getting to the end of our rope for a lot of it, and we just need to like refresh that a little bit.
I forgot how to. I said that today in the meeting. I was like, I forgot how to make a game from the beginning.
Yeah, like
I don't remember.
Like, open up Shovel Knight and change 60%.
Right, yeah, it's like I don't remember anymore.
Now we like start at 0%. It's hard, but
we're gonna have to go through that creative process to like figure it out again. But we will definitely be making non-Shovel Knight games. Definitely.
That's sounding. We're promising for the cart game. Just saying.
But that's awesome. I mean, because you got to refresh at some point. I mean, no matter how much you enjoy a property, no matter how much you enjoy an IP, that's the reason why on a lot of other games, you see people move on. People always assume when people leave development on like Mass Effect or something like that they must. There must be problems behind the scenes, like, or the person's been, making Mass Effect games for a decade and they need a damn break.
Totally.
Because you need something to recharge yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Creatively, like even we were just talking about this earlier. I forget if that wasn't this interview when you mentioned Miyamoto. That was
that was not us.
Yeah, Miyamoto is there was a quote that Sean brought up of him regarding Mario or Super Mario World, where he's like, the team, every time we finish a Mario game, the team vows they'll never work on a Mario game ever again, and because you just get really burned out.
But then you're so in it.
Yeah, and then like weeks later, you start to have ideas, and it's like, well, maybe we can do this, and then somebody else already had ideas, and they start to like combine and become the beginnings of a new game. So
all of a sudden, you're excited about it again.
Yeah,
I'm sure cycle continues.
After like a year of working on second game that we do, that we're going to have a billion ideas to make a Shovel Knight.
I'm so sick of this. I just wish we could make Shovel Knight.
Yeah, Shovel Knight is so easy.
Right.
Well, thank you guys for taking the time to chat with us. It was lovely having you on the podcast. We've been wanting to do this for a couple of years. I think pretty much I've, it was when Shovel Knight came to Xbox One. Let's get them on the podcast. Crap, they're busy making stuff. Okay, Plague of Shadows is coming out. Let's get them on the podcast to discuss that. Crap, they're busy making that. And
sorry.
There's nothing to be sorry about. You guys are making a game. You're making a game that we enjoy here, so there's nothing to be sorry about. But it's lovely and nice that we finally were able to get you guys on the show, and a live show at that. So, because I was mentioning to Shannon before we went live, I believe you guys at least. And I think you guys are the second live interview we've actually successfully managed to put together, because Monday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, let me tell you, it was a wonderful time to ask people, to come on. So it was, it was great chatting with you guys. Sean was, people are already going to know, but any, plugging stuff for Shovel Knight you would like to throw out at the end of the show, please feel free.
Sure. Is that right now? Is that the end right now?
We are at the end.
Okay.
We are at the end of the show.
You should definitely buy Shovel Knight. It's called Shovel Knight Treasure Trove now on all the platforms.
On some of the platforms.
It's on the Switch, and it's cool on that. Spectre of Torment standalone is cool, but you should just buy Shovel Knight Treasure Trove because that's everything. Treasure Trove,
you have all the campaigns, future and past of Shovel Knight 1.
If you already own Shovel Knight, then you already have Treasure Trove, so you don't need to buy anything.
So buy it for your friends,
or you could buy some merch or something.
Anyway, we have battle mode coming also soon. So this is not a campaign just for. We have the King Knight campaign. We also have battle mode where you play as all the knights, and so that's going to be local multiplayer, and you can play with your friends. So
get excited for that too.
Anticipation of that.
If you have Treasure Trove, then you already get that too.
Well, Justin, I think we got some Let's Plays in order right there.
I was about to ask, man, y'all going to do the brawl game after the cart game? It's like, oh no, we got that.
Well, no, battle mode is a variation of that. Sounds like. Well, that's awesome. And just for people, I mean, most of the people here have already, based on our chat and how happy they are and how many questions they've already played. But if you haven't played Shovel Knight, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm a fan, but we will have our reviews. I have an old review of Shovel Knight up, but the Treasure Trove stuff and specifically Spectre of Torment, we'll have video reviews up Friday? Hopefully end of the week, see how that goes.
Great.
Question mark? Because in my calendar, I put you guys for the interview in for next Monday. So we had a whole shovel week planned out. And then this morning I woke up, looked at my calendar, notification went off, and it was saying today, and I was like, fuck. Well, there goes that entire, it's the wonders of small media, small stuff is, hey, these things happen. So we are going to do more Shovel Knight stuff. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming up for people watching this. Please, make sure to follow here, twitch.tv/constant calibrating. Go follow, at ConCalPod. I'm at Bear Punch. Justin's at The Aging Gamer. You can follow for all Yacht Club. God, I screwed it up again. Yacht Club.
Yacht Club.
You got it.
You said it.
No, I
have to follow through, man.
I said Yacht Club.
Fine, just do it again.
And Yacht Club Games, you can find at Yacht Club Games on Twitter as well for all information and yachtclubgames.com. So that being said, just for us, because it's our show, we're going to throw a couple more at facebook.com/constant calibrating, youtube.com/concalpod. That is where you will find this episode, the non-live format, the format that I actually somewhat edit, will go up on Friday evening, just in case you missed anything and want to see, though the Twitch or VOD will be good enough for you there. Sean, Waz, thank you guys so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
And chat, thank you for, chatting with us. With that, we bid you good sign off.